Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, this is the mid-year book freakout tag for 2026. Also, yes, I am wearing this. I did recently make it. It's over on my crochet channel. But I wanted to show it off a little bit, so we're showing it off in this video. So, anyway, like I said, mid-year book freakout 2026 book tag. And I have a stack of books here. I don't think all of the books that I've mentioned. Oh boy. I'm just trying to adjust it so I don't have to adjust myself too much. Anyway, I don't know if all of the books. There's at least one book that I don't have. Well, 2 books. 3 books that I don't have physical copies of either anymore or yet. So, with all of that said, let's get into this book tag because it is the second to last week of June and we need to get this done. Anyway, with all of that said, there's going to be some shuffling around because I did do some repeats. So, the very first prompt is best book of the year. For me, oh no, don't fall. We're still figuring this out. So, best book of the year, Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill. So, to give you the description, because I'm trying to be better about that, beneath the still surface of a lake lurks a monster with needle-sharp teeth. Her name is Jenny Greenteeth, and she is hungry and ready to pounce. She has never spoken to a human before, but when a witch is thrown into her lake by an angry mob, something makes Jenny decide she is worth saving instead of eating. Soon she learns that the witch's once peaceful village has suddenly turned against her, and that it has something to do with the malevolent new pastor and his wicked influence on the townsfolk. So that's what this one is about. I absolutely love this one, 10 out of 10. This is an amazing cozy fantasy. It's kind of on that border between being cozy. One of my bunnies is out playing Pepper Puppy Pepper. Her nickname's Pepper Puppy because she would act like a puppy when she was a little younger. She's 8 or 9 now. Anyway, so this is kind of borderline. It definitely is cozy, but it kind of straddles the line between cozy. It's not quite epic. It's not quite an epic fantasy, but it straddles between cozy fantasy and just fantasy. So that's this one. Okay. And then I need to switch stuff around because, like I said, I have some repeats. So the next one is best sequel. The next prompt is best sequel. And for me, that was A Fellowship of... We fell. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure this out. But, it's something. We're trying here. Anyway. So, A Fellowship of Librarians and Dragons by J. Penner. I feel like I read the Ardenshire series so long ago. I read it in January, and that feels so long ago. It feels like last year, basically. But yeah, and in this one specifically, it's a series of interconnected standalones. There are references and characters in this book and in the next book, which is games and Fellowship of Games and something. It's on my bookshelf. But you do see characters from previous stories in the later novels. So it's definitely interconnected. You don't have to read them in order, but it helps having some of that foreknowledge. But in this one specifically, Spilling the tea has never been so cozy. People-pleasing sunshine dwarf Dolly Butterbuckle is content with her simple tea magic and circle of friends. It's true that she might have once wanted more for herself and that she's never quite lived up to her family's expectations, but her life is just fine. That is, until she inherits a dragon egg. As Dolly grapples with her newfound responsibilities, she turns to gargoyle librarian Sarson, an expert in dragon lore. The more time she spends in his library, the more she finds herself falling for the well-read newcomer. By dealing with her overbearing family and stopping a sinister plot she's uncovered, and handling a dragon that refuses to stay out of trouble means her hands are already full. So that's what this one specifically is about. Excuse me. And I absolutely love this one. This was like a great sequel, and I think this series, like, I always say that The Hobbit is like the start of cozy fantasy. The Hobbit specifically, The Lord of the Rings is not cozy fantasy by any means, but The Hobbit is cozy fantasy. And kind of like this one, it does straddle that line between cozy fantasy and just regular fantasy. But I love cozy fantasy, and this is definitely cozy fantasy. And we're kind of like Green Teeth. But like, I do think that The Hobbit was definitely like a good start. I think it's a good starting point for cozy fantasy. I say while wearing my mushroom hat that I crocheted. I think it's fitting. Anyway, is this my cozy fantasy year? This is my cozy year. I'm crocheting. I'm reading. I'm reading cozy fantasy. I'm reading cozy murder mysteries. I think life's pretty good right now, for the most part. But anyway, that's this one. Okay, so I had to put that a little bit later in the stack since I'll be mentioning it again later. The next prompt is best book rec you've received, and this is a repeat already. 3 prompts in Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill, and I got this as a recommendation years ago, or not that long ago, but within like the past 5 years. I was at the Barnes & Noble. I like the bookstore Barnes & Noble in Studio City and like the old movie theater. And I was checking out. I was talking. I was like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get into like cozy fantasy, cozy books. I was telling the bookseller this, and she was like, oh, you might like Green Teeth. It's definitely It definitely has cozy fantasy elements. Excuse me. So this is definitely the best book rec I've received for this year specifically, even though the actual recommendation was given to me a few years ago. But I read it this year, so we're counting it. But yeah, I've already talked about this one, so we're going to move on to the next prompt. And that one is new release you haven't read yet but want to. And for me, on the one hand, I'm surprised I haven't gotten to it yet, but at the same time, I'm like, given how the Mademoiselle Alliance went last year, I'm not surprised. And for me, the new release is The Chateau on Sunset by Natasha Lester, and this is basically like a Jane Eyre retelling and set in 1957 Hollywood, which is kind of like a little bit outside of Natasha Lester's usual works, at least from her more recent backlisted book list. Starting with The Paris Seamstress, because most of her books did have like a dual timeline set World War One and a more modern day timeline, and there was some connection to Paris and France in general, and then US and Australia as well, because Natasha Lester is from Australia. I absolutely love Natasha Lester's books, so like, I'm a little bit surprised I haven't gotten to this one quite yet, but it did only come out on June 3rd. I want to say June 3rd. So, or June 2nd, maybe. June 2nd or 3rd. So it's like, it's only been about a month. And I cannot wait to read this one. I'm not a huge Jane Eyre person, but like, Natasha Lester's books really hit the mark for me, so I'm really excited to read this one. Like I said, Jane Eyre retelling In 1957, newly orphaned Aria Jones is set to live with her aunt, a fading star who hides away in Hollywood's infamous Chateau Marmont. There, two aspiring actresses, Calliope and Flitter, take the grieving Aria under their wing. But the Marmont isn't meant for smaller girls with big hearts, and Arya's first few nights reveal an insidious secret that continues to haunt her as she grows up in the hotel's halls, where bright lights of Hollywood cast even darker shadows. If Arya can just stay invisible and invite no trouble as she saves money, then she can leave the Marmont and live her life on her own terms, alone but free. Her carefully laid plans fall apart when the hotel is bought by Theo Winchester, a reclusive rock star turned unexpected caretaker of his daughter Adele, and unlike any man Arya has met before. To earn the last bit of money she needs to escape, Arya becomes Adele's tutor, which brings Arya closer to Theo and ignites a passion she never expected. Suddenly, Arya finds herself wondering if she wants to remain invisible, and if inviting trouble is a risk she's willing to take to pursue what she truly desires. So that's what this one's about, and I'm really excited to read it. Again, I'm not. Excuse me. I'm just getting over being sick, and the cough is lingering. And then something just got stuck in my throat, and then it's like I was trying to stop coughing, so then it's like, yeah, I'm gonna make you cough worse because you tried to stop coughing. So I'm not a big Jane Eyre person, but hopefully Natasha Lester will strike it out of the park again for me. I think the Mademoiselle Alliance is probably. Mm, I can't say that I truly dislike any of the books that I read from Natasha Lester. I do really like all of them. But I think the Mademoiselle Alliance is kind of at the bottom, along with, I think it's called What Was Left Over After? Is that what it was called? No, I need to know. I don't know where the Storygraph app is on my iPad. It's somewhere. Nope. 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 Found it. So, and I will need this open for later. Natasha. Okay. Okay. So I've read that. I haven't read A Kiss from Mrs. Fitzgerald. I was thinking about reading that, but I don't know. Like, the book that I read. Oh, it's What Is Left Over After, and that came out in. Where'd it go? This came out in 2010, and this, like, I didn't mind it. It's just not my cup of tea. And then some of her other backlisted books are Beautiful Dare, and this was 2016, and this was like a short story. This was a short story. And then there's also Her Mother's Secrets, which was 27. That was 2017. When did the Paris Orphan come out? Or the Paris Seamstress? Paris Orphan, 2018. Okay, the Paris Seamstress came out after Her Mother's Secret. And then there's also If I Should Lose You. So it's like, I think before she started writing historical fiction, she was writing a lot of like more contemporary lit fic stuff, which great for her. That's just not my cup of tea. So it's like, I don't know if I'm gonna read any more of her backlisted books pre 2018, so pre the Paris Seamstress. And like I said, the Mademoiselle Alliance was the bottom of that list, but again, I do love all of the books that I've read from Natasha Lester. What was left over after that was like my lowest rated book from Natasha Lester at 3.5 stars. But and the Paris or no, the Mademoiselle Alliance was like 4 stars. So it's like I would do like what was left over after Mademoiselle Alliance, and then all the other books are kind of a hodgepodge of Tide stuff. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. That can be for another video. If you want to see a tier ranking video of Natasha Lester books, let me know down below in the comments, and I will figure out how to do that. But anyway, the next prompt, I need to get back to the right thing. The next prompt is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And I'm only going to show volume 1 because volume 2 is coming, or no, volume 3 is coming out Sunday, but I need to buy that. I did have it on pre-order briefly, but I needed to like cancel the pre-order because I needed to shuffle some of my finances around. But I will be getting volume 3 soon, and then volume 4, which is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, is coming out in November of this year. Excuse me. Under the Oak Tree by C.G. Kim. In this, you're following Maxie, who is married. She has a stutter. She has a stutter, and out of fear of embarrassment, her father hid her away, and then he married her off to Sir Rifton, who was kind of like a lowly born. He was a lowly born knight who kind of climbed up the ranks of the social structure, social ladder, and they have a disastrous wedding night, and then the morning after, he leaves on a 3-year campaign, and when he returns, Maxie is surprised he still wants her. So that's what this one's about. And I absolutely love the story so far, and I just want my babies to be happy, okay? The next prompt is the biggest disappointments, and for me that was Wild Dark Shores by Charlotte McConaughey, however the frick you say her name. I say that with all due respect. It sounded very sarcastic, and I did not mean it to come off as sarcastic. But however you say her name, let me know down below in the comments. Also, what time is it? Oh wow. Also, I did have to like an alarm went off, so that just stopped my recording mid-talk. So I did have to start back up again. But anyway, the Wild Dark Shores by Charlotte McConaughey was my biggest disappointment. I feel like I should have DNF'd it, but I was falling into the hype a little bit, and I wanted to say that I read it, so, which isn't a good reason to read something, really. You should read something because you want to read it, not because you want to say you read it. Let me check on my bunny real quick. But in Wild Dark Shore, you're following a family. It's a father and his 3 kids, I think, and they're on this island very close to, I think it's Antarctica, and there is like a seed vault base type of a deal where all the seeds are. If stuff goes downhill and there's like an apocalypse or something, that's where all the seeds are, where you can start growing stuff again and rebuilding. And they're there alone because like all the other scientists left, and they're the final this family is the final caretakers. And Wild Dark Shore, oh yeah, a woman shows up unexpectedly. They think she's dead, but she's not dead. Everyone has secrets. There's burying and uncovering and digging. Like, I've said this before. I said this in my Book of the Month edition of the Roll of the Dice reading blog, but I feel like this would have been better as a murder mystery, like a more obvious murder mystery, because like this would be like a perfect closed room murder mystery without it being in a room, because you have the whole freaking island to explore, to figure out what secrets are there, to figure out who's hiding what. You have a whole freaking island to have as your closed door murder mystery. Excuse me. But like for me, it was just too lit ficky, and excuse me, I'm not a lit fic person. And thankfully, I haven't had to learn this the hard way. I've always known this about myself, so I usually don't pick up lit fic stuff. Um, I usually don't pick up literary fiction books because I know that's not my usual cup of tea. Like I need a little bit more action. I am very much an action girly. Like I'm not a big action movie person, but like I need something more action and adventure. Like I need something more fantastical. So that's why I tend to gravitate towards fantasy, and then like historical fiction. Like I need something a little bit more there to pull me in. So yeah, that was a disappointment. I think I gave that 2.75 stars. So that was like my lowest rated book of the year so far. There are two books that I did not rate, not because they weren't good, but just because I felt like I couldn't rate them. It was Persepolis by Marjam Satrapi, and what was the other book I didn't rate? Okay. Okay, there were three books that I did not rate. So Persepolis by Marjam Satrapi, um, and then The Bone Thief by Vanessa Lilly, and then Where They Last Saw Her by Marcy R. Rendon. So that was what I did not rate. But like again, those were all really good books. I just felt like I couldn't put a star rating to them. Anyway, Wild Dark Shore is my lowest rated book. Also, I was saying okay to my mom because she was saying something. Anyway, the next prompt is Biggest Surprise. Now, this wasn't by any means my favorite book of the year, and it's good for what it is. You can see the cover. You can see the cover right here, and you might know what it is. Like for me, it is good for what it is. It wasn't my favorite book by any means. I enjoyed it while I read it. It is what it is, you know. And that book is Pride and Premeditation by Tirza Price. And this is a Jane Austen murder mystery, Pride and Prejudice murder mystery. This one specifically, it's part of the Jane Austen murder mystery series. I might get the series as a whole because like I do like the concept of it, and I did enjoy this one for what it is, so I might get the series as a whole. But yeah, I did enjoy it. A 17-year-old aspiring law student, Lizzie Bennett, and young fledgling lawyer, Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, go head-to-head in a murder case that has shocked high London society. But as the case and her feelings for Darcy become more complicated, Lizzie discovers that her dream career could make her happy, but it might also get her killed. So this one, it's fun for what it is. It's a fun Pride and Prejudice retelling, retheming. So it was a good surprise in the sense that I enjoyed it. It was the biggest surprise in the sense that I did enjoy it as much as I did. Like I said, it's not my favorite book of the year by far. Like there are some books that are definitely higher on that list. Like the Ardenshire series, and then there's like a few other books. But yeah, I did really enjoy this one, and this one was a really good book. And I borrowed it from my friend, so I have to return this to her. I'm gonna like quote unquote gift it back to her, so that'll be funny. Like because her birthday's coming up in August in a month, so I'm gonna like wrap it up and gift it to her that way and be like, "Here's your book back." So like she'll get a laugh out of it. Hopefully she'll get a laugh. I think she should. We have similar senses of humor. Okay. And then the next prompt is new favorite author, debut or new to you. For this one, I've chosen Jay Penner because she is a new to me author. When was this published? Pepper, 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 puppy, pepper. Trying to figure out when Fellowship of Bakers and Magic was published. This is the first book. 2023, so it is still pretty recent, within the past 5 years. And it was the funniest thing because last year, like for the second half of 2025, between like July and December, I was seeing this all over my freaking Facebook page. And it was like, and it was being promoted in different ways. It was like, Ellen Enchanted meets the Great British Bake Off, Lord of the Rings meets the Great British Bake Off, Princess Bride meets the Great British Bake Off. And it's like, okay, what is this? I would say the Princess Bride is kind of probably at the bottom of that list. It does have some Princess Bride elements to it, but it's like that's probably at the bottom of the list. It's more so, it's definitely, what was the first one I said? Not Lord of the Rings, Ellen Enchanted. It's definitely like Ellen Enchanted meets Great British Bake Off, and then some Lord of the Rings, and then a little bit of Princess Bride. And then my sister got this for me as a gift for Christmas, and I was just like, oh my god, I've been seeing this everywhere, and I've been thinking about reading it. And then it was between Christmas and the start of 2026 and January 2026, where myself, my sister, and a friend, one or two friends, we went to Barnes and Noble and got glasses, and I got the other 2 books because I was like, you know what, I have a good feeling I'm gonna get the second 2 books. I'm gonna get the next couple books that I can find. So like, I read it and I enjoyed it, and by far new favorite author. I don't know if I'd call her an autobiography author, but like definitely a new favorite author. Oh, I need to sneeze. So the next prompt is new fictional crush. There were a few that I was thinking of, but I think the most prevalent one that came to mind for me was Sarson from A Fellowship of Librarians and Dragons. I did not talk to you about the first book, Baker's Magic, so let me pivot back a little bit. So in the first book, she doesn't need to have magic in order to be magic. In the heart of Ardenshire, where elvish enchantments and dwarven delights rule, human baker Arletta Starson works twice as hard at perfecting her unique blend of baking with apothecary herbs. So when her orc neighbor and biggest fan secretly enters her creations into the prestigious Langheim baking battle, Arletta faces a dilemma. Uh, Being magicless, her participation in the competition could draw more scowls than smiles, and if Arletta wants to prove her talents and establish her culinary reputation, she'll need more than just her pastry craft to sweeten the odds. Though Arletta may not yet believe in herself, she makes her way to the Langheim with the help of a very attractive woodland elf, and competes. While on a journey of mouth-watering pastries, self-discovery, and heartwarming friendships, and potential romance, Arletta will have to decide whether winning the baking battle is the true prize after all. But win or lose, her adventure is only the beginning. So, is only beginning. So the other great thing with the series, with both of these, there's recipes at the end of the books. There's recipes at the end of the books, and when it's like, if it's about cooking or baking and there are recipes at the end of the books, that's like an extra star for me. It's like it'll bump it up from like a 3 to a 4 star, because it's like you understood the assignment. So that's what A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic is. And like I was saying, the next prompt, newest fictional crush, Sarson from A Fellowship of Librarians and Dragons. And I already talked about this one, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But like, Sarson is like perfection, and I would love to just live in his library and be like, I'll be a clerk, and we can work together at the library, and we can just have a cute little life. Like, cozy fantasy is like perfect. So like, absolute perfection from Sarson. Sarson, that's his name. So the next prompt is newest favorite character, and this one, I feel like for me, it did kind of come out of left field, because I think going into like the first volume, you can see what the answer is, but to give a little bit of context, you're going into the first volume like with certain contexts and expecting to not like this character, and that's how I went into it. And then it was just like reading volume 2 and actually meeting this character, and you're like, Oh, I like you. You're good. We're good. We're chill. We're cool. And it's Princess Agnes from Under the Oak Tree, specifically Volume 2. And she's mentioned in Volume 1 because, like I mentioned with the description, like, Riften, he goes off on his 3-year campaign. And during that time, there are rumors that he was offered marriage, that he was offered Agnes's hand in marriage, and she's a very powerful sorceress and very beautiful. And that had made Maxie a little bit nervous because, like, 3 years, like, after a disastrous wedding night, like, she was just like, he's gotten potential marriage proposals from her. Like, I can't compete. And then you meet Princess Agnes in Volume 2, and it's like, I like you. I like you. You're cool. You're chill. And it's like, you can definitely tell that it's friendship between them. This is a little bit spoilery, but not too spoilery. But you can definitely tell that it's just friendship between Agnes and Riften, and that, like, whatever those rumors were, they were just rumors. Okay, so to continue, my mom just asked another question, so I had to step away to go help her. The next prompt is a book that made you happy, and for me, that is, I'm just going to mention the full series because I reread it this year and it made me happy. Magic Knight Earth. This is like the series. I'm just showing Volume 1 and my girl Hikaru. And honestly, I love the series so much, and the fact that we're getting a revamp of the anime in October. Hopefully they're following through and actually giving it to us in October. And it looks so gorgeous. It looks so gorgeous. I have a couple videos coming out about this later this month. But it looks so freaking gorgeous, and I cannot wait for it. Like, that was like one of my first animes, if not my first anime. Like, I watched it around the same time as I watched Inuyasha, so it's like they're kind of tied for my first anime, but like, this was like what got me into it, and this was like my peak fantasy in like my preteen years, or like peak. In this, you're falling through high school girl, or they're not high school, they're 8th grade. Why is it always like 8th graders? We were just watching Inuyasha. We were watching it. My sister's been watching Inuyasha, and I've been occasionally watching it with her. They're always like 8th grade and 14 years old. Why is that? I mean, it makes it more relatable when you're like not quite at 8th grade, or you're in 8th grade, and it makes it a little bit more relatable. It's like, why are they always in 8th grade? Anyway, so in this, 3 8th graders are basically high schoolers, but 3 8th graders, Hikaru, Umi, and Fu, are called to another world from Tokyo Tower. They're called to another world called Sephiroth to help save Sephiroth, and that's all you need to know. This is a really short series. There's only 6 volumes, so that's all you need to know. I cannot wait for the anime. Like, oh my god. The animation, it wasn't bad, but it was very much up the times. And for the it might have been early 2000s actually, but it was very much of the time. So anyway, the next prompt is genre you've read the most from. For me, that is fantasy. Let's double check. How many books have I read from fantasy? A lot. Over 30. 33. Okay, 33. I've read 33 books in fantasy this year out of the 60-ish. 65 books I've read. So that's a little over half. Around half. A little bit under half. Give or take. Half. So, half of the books I've read have been fantasy. The next prompt is, I think it's a book to movie adaptation, or a book to TV show. Yeah, favorite book to movie or show adaptation you've seen so far this year. For me, that is Thursday Murder Club. I will not shut up about this. I love this movie. I don't agree with all the choices of the actors, specifically looking at one of them. I'm not gonna show and look at it, but like, if you know, you know. But like, I love this, and like, Pierce Brosnan gets to be an old man, and it's the funniest thing. And then Ibrahim, why am I blanking on his name? Ben Kingsley, like, That was so cute. And then Joyce's actress's name, I'm blanking on Joyce's actress. But honestly, this was such a great movie adaptation. And it's like, I like it. That's like a comfort watch. I have only watched it 3 times now, I think. But it's like, it's a comfort watch now. So I'm happy about that. And then the next book is Most Beautiful Book You've Bought This Year, or one that you'd like to own. For me, okay, I'm going to stick you right there for a moment. Let me just stick one back there for a moment, because I have to show it off a little bit. This edition of Pride and Prejudice probably is the most beautiful book that I bought for this year, and that's I've gotten within this year, because I do have volume 4 of Under the Oak Tree pre-ordered, and that one could kind of count, but it's second half of the year. Under the Oak Tree volume 3 I do not have yet, but so yeah, this is like, the illustrations are really good at this. I have barely touched this. I'm trying to find one of the pages. Like, the illustrations are very well done. Can you see that? Okay, yeah. And I do really like the illustrations in this, so definitely probably the most beautiful book that I bought this year. Okay. And then the next prompt is, I'm not going to talk about Pride and Prejudice because I feel like we all know what that's about. And if you don't, have you been living under a rock? Anyway, next prompt. I mean that with love, but it's like, at this point, if you don't know what Pride and Prejudice is about, have you at least seen the movie? Anyway, next prompt. What book or books do you really need to read by the end of the year? And for me, I'm saying Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hulkhauser. And this is like a Cinderella retelling through the eyes of Lady Tremaine, basically. And that's all I'm going to say. But, like, I will say Lady Tremaine's name. Like, what the heck? That's so freaking pretentious. Lady Etheldreda Verity Isolde Tremaine Bromley. Bromley. Yeah, I mean, good on you for having a really pretentious sounding name. Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hulkhauser. Like I said, like, kind of through Lady Tremaine's eyes, Cinderella story. Nothing will make me hate Cinderella because I love her so much. I love Cindy. And then the last prompt, I do have 3 bonus prompts, but the last official prompt is book you've read in the first half of the year that you feel embodies your reading year. Magic Knight Rares, 100%, no questions. I already talked about it, and I feel like it embodies my reading year so far, and just in general, because it's like I'm really getting back into like the fantasy and really getting back into my love of that and just enjoying it really. So, like, yeah, it's a good choice. Okay, and then for the books, did I say 3 bonus prompts? I have 4 bonus prompts. So, just trying to get comfortable. The next prompt is top 3 most read genres so far this year. Like I said, fantasy is my top genre. I've read 33 books. It's 51% of the books that I've read so far, so over half. And then the next one is historical at 17 books, 26% of the books that I've read so far. And then romance, 10 books at 15% of the books I've read. And romance was kind of a surprise, but like looking at everything, it's not really that much of a surprise. But like, it surprises me when I see how many romance books I read, and I'm like, who am I? Anyway, I think a large part of it is because like there's a lot of overlap. So I think that factors in whatever overlap there is. The next one is top 3 most read authors so far this year. Clamp. I've read 6 books, again 6 volumes of full series, and that's 0.9% of the books. J.R.R. Tolkien, 5 books, 0.7%, and then J. Penner, 3 books at 0.5%. I just felt like including the percentages to kind of be like, hey, like, Even though it's a small amount, it still factors in a little bit. And then my average star rating was 4.17 stars, which might seem a little bit high, but I usually am actively trying to read books that I am. Okay, so the very last prompt is the overview of statistics. And oh, I went to the wrong thing. Okay. So 65 books read. My most read mood is adventurous at about 30 books. And then pacing of the books, fast has been about 17%, slow about 11%, and then let me just move this over here. Medium pace is at 71%. Page number 500 has been 4%, less than 300 has been 38%, and then 300 to 499 has been 57%. Audiobook length, 16 hours or more has been 12%, 8 hours or less has been 18%, and then 8 hours to 15 hours and 59 minutes is 71%. 14% of my books have been nonfiction, 86% have been fiction, and then I already talked about like my top three genres, so I'm not going to go too much into that. And then format, 3% of digital, one book. I think I know which book that was, maybe. And then there was one book that was uncategorized, but that factors into the audiobook. And then there's so digital 3%, audiobook 28%. Again, it might be a little bit more, maybe like 29%, give or take, because one book was not categorized in the Storygraph app. And then print is 71%. Ooh, Clamp. I talked about my most read authors, talked about my star ratings, and that is the overview of my statistics, just because I wanted to share that, and I love talking about the Storygraph statistics, and I love having that accessible. So, with all of that said, if you made it this far in the video, let me know down below in the comments what your favorite book of 2026 has been so far this year of 2026. And if you think, and also let me know if you think that'll be your favorite overall in 2026, or if there's another book that could take its place. So with all of that said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.